What is going on, you guys? It is Aerie. I apologize for any background noise you most certainly hear. It has actually gotten hot enough in the area where we live to where we legitimately have to turn on the air conditioner. That is so weird to say in February, but it's true. I mean, I grew up in Kaon, and Kaon is very similar to this area. Like, in the summer, you'd have temperatures of like 111 degrees. Hopefully I don't actually delete this audio because my voice is actually really hard on Arya's body because her vocal cords have not adjusted to the lowness of it just yet, even though she's been voicing me at a constant since probably about July. I mean, she was a coloratura-trained soprano. Anyway, I don't know why I'm starting this video off on such a casual note, because it's actually quite serious. And the reason I'm doing this video and not Arya is because it is really hard for Arya to talk about this. She feels already really bad about everything that happened, but particularly surrounding Star. She not only harbors a lot of guilt, but also a lot of sadness because there is a part of her, actually it's more than a part, she does miss him a lot. But there are several reasons why Star cannot be a functional with her partner anymore, and why that's fallen to First Prize in the romantic sense, and me in the fatherly sense. And I'm going to talk about all of them today. But first, I am actually going to turn off the air because it's actually cold in here now. Like, I hate this time of year because that air conditioner just goes on, off, on, off. It's really annoying. So, when Arya first met Sakura, she, was a very avid Decepticon. This was right around the time, that she was in another relationship, and she was struggling in that relationship. She was happy for about the first month, but then about a month and a half into it, it all kind of started to crumble, and then by the second month, it was pretty much over. Now I'm not going to criticize this person who she was in the relationship with because I know for a fact they watch our videos, and B, they did the best they could with what Arya gave them, and what Arya gave them was a very broken person. She thought she was healed enough to be in a relationship, and truth be told, that was not the case at all. Not even when she got into a relationship with Sakura 5 months after she met her. So, here we have Arya newly forming the Megatron. The Megatron was formed on April 16th, 2019. And on April 30th, after she got back from McAllen, Texas, when she went to South Texas Comic-Con, she decided that she was ready for a relationship. And so she jumped into a relationship with Sakura. They had a couple of bumps in the road, but by June they were pretty stable. And by June 21st, they were sharing an escape world. Now, before I continue any further, I need to stress that Sakura and her impact had nothing to do with what happened to Star. In fact, Sakura really tried to prevent what happened to Star. When I was introduced as Megatron in the Megatron, Arya was very in need of protecting Star. Star had been her protector for so long, but once the Megatron started, she was like, okay, Megatron is my protector now, so now I can focus all my energy on protecting Star instead of letting Star protect me, or protect her. This was a huge mistake, because what happened was Star turned from a really headstrong protector who knew what he was doing to somebody who always needed a shoulder to cry on, which was a recipe for disaster because out of force, because Arya did force Sakura into Transformers Prime, emotionally she basically gave her no option other than to leave Baldi's Basics, which Sakura had a fully functioning AU with, and come into the shared Transformers universe, and everything was surrounding Transformers. In her uncomfortableness, Sakura actually turned to, at first, an Autobot love interest because he reminded her of Baldy. Well, I've said enough already. It was Ratchet. But after a while, she developed feelings for Knockout. And again, she was pressured because Arya wanted Sakura to be a Decepticon. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. We had to... Responding to Arya's voice is really... Arya's voice. This might have to be like an edited 2-part video. I'm glad that wasn't an ASMR. Anyway, what was I saying? Because Arya had wanted Sakura to be a Decepticon, what that enforced was that Sakura needed to have a Decepticon love interest. So not only did she say goodbye to the Autobot love interest she was kind of starting to develop closeness to, she also forced herself to say goodbye to Baldy. Baldy was very, very special to Sakura, and thankfully now is to this day. And because Sakura wanted this relationship with Arya to work, she felt like she had to do everything in her power to make it work. Again, I don't want to place blame on either one of them because Sakura felt like she had no choice, and Arya was in a very broken state, personally, I think, and she knows, not ready for a relationship like she thought she was. So here we are moving into July of 2019, and Starscream begins to change because in their attempt to have kind of a foursome, they developed ships with not only each other, but also their partners, and their partners developed ships with each other. So Knockout was shipped with Starscream, and Knockout was immediately put into the category of protector because prior to this, Starscream had me. I feel like if Starscream hadn't been in the Megatron and Arya hadn't taken the mental direction with him that she had, then what would have happened was that he would have been the protector and Knockout would not have been. And so here we've got Starscream becoming kind of a worrywart. He is portrayed by Fanon as very, very small and feminine and tiny and fragile and little. And now, thanks to some major uncovering, we know that Star actually, while he can be like that when he is cuddly, he is certainly not like that as a default. He is a very strong person, and Canon Starscream is a very strong person. I say this to say that Star really was never Canon Starscream before this point. There's a reason I emphasized before this point. So coming into July, Star was very, very needy and emotional and small, and Arya liked that. She liked everything about what the TF Fanon did to him, which included making him carry. So Star gained the nickname Starry, a name that has remained absolutely infamous to this day in our minds and in this world. So here we have got this Starry character who started to act as kind of a carrier to Arya and Sakura, especially Arya, and he was favoring Arya. This is a major, major point, because slowly but surely something happened, and he started to favor Sakura. Knockout was forced to take a sire-like role because he felt that as Star's partner, and with Star wanting to be more of a carrier, then Knockout should have been more of a sire. So Star turned into this very soft thing that wanted to do nothing but cuddle, and Knockout was forced into a life of only cuddling and just always having to be with Star when he really sometimes likes to do his own thing, like Street Race. With Star having become Starry, Arya really began to miss the idea of a canon Starscream. And so a split took place, where Starry became their own individual. I say there because a big change happened later on. But Starry became their own individual, and canon Starscream was brought into the mix through a series of really confusing events that I don't need to go into, but basically, canon Starscream was brought into our universe from canon TFP by Starry because Starry felt that Starscream needed comfort, just like Arya felt that Starscream needed comfort, and thus that turned into the Worrywart Starry. So now we have two stars. We have Starscream, who's directly from canon TFP, acts like he's from canon TFP, and then we have Starry, who is this worrywart, motherly-like seeker, your typical fanon seeker. None of them are the image that Arya wanted. Originally, she thought that canon Starscream could provide a security and a protection, but as they progressed further along, canon Starscream took the name of Schemy, and he was voiced by Arya, and his voice was the exact voice that Arya used for her protective star almost a year prior. In September, something started to happen where both Starry and Schemy started to favor Sakura. This was not Sakura's choice. I repeat you, this was not Sakura's choice. The thing about this is that Sakura wouldn't have dreamed of stealing Starscream or Starry or Schemy or whatever they were away from Arya. Because at that time, Sakura was suffering because she didn't have Baldy. She didn't feel like she could tell Arya she was suffering, but she was suffering. Majorly suffering. And it was really hard for her to be in this world, especially now that she was being smothered with attention she did not want. Because Arya felt that she needed to be Sakura's protector, when Arya herself needed a lot more mental help than she thought. So it got to be very toxic throughout the next 5 months until March of 2020. They had already physically visited each other in January, and Schemy was a lot more abrupt, and he was a lot more Sakura favored, but in his attempts to favor Sakura, he criticized Arya. He was the very embodiment of all of Arya's anxiety, all of Arya's depression, and he would come out as a voice that told her that she didn't matter because only Sakura mattered. And it was really, really difficult for her to see any light in the tunnel because her light was knockout. And Starry, forget Starry, because Starry had decided to take on a feminine gender transformation. She became a femme. So she was now completely separate from canon Starscream. And this canon Starscream just turned into this vengeful, rageful, almost treating Arya like he treated Predaking in Season 3 of TFP. This Starscream was horrible to Arya. And there was one particular day when Arya was voicing him. Arya said something, and he said, "Speak when spoken to." It was the beginning of March. Sakura acted as though she brushed that off, but when they got on call again after that, she took over the role of voicing Starscream. And he then became Star through a series of realizations and realizing that this whole weird family dynamic that Arya and Sakura had with Knockout and Starscream and Starry was not going to work. So what happened? Today, Star is his own individual person. He is not Canon Starscream. He was my second in command. Canon Starscream is actually a separate being who continues to be voiced by Arya. But Arya and Sakura are not in the positions that they were in last year. They have been replaced by two other characters created for that family dynamic called Femi and Bella. And the reason we created these two characters is because, well, one, it needed to fill the family dynamic, and two, the whole reason we brought this old world, which we call the Skimia. Long story about that. But anyway, the reason we brought this whole world into ours was really because we were trying to make light of the trauma that Sakura and Arya endured in this world. That change was brought on by a lot of things, but it started with Starscream taking over being voiced by Arya. But because that voice gave Arya so much anxiety coming from her, because Schemy was a voice that yelled at her, that told her she wasn't worth anything and Sakura was worth everything, it makes it very difficult for her to reconnect with Star off of any type of FaceTime or Skype call and voice him on her own. Star still exists. This is the Star that she knew the December before 2019, so December 2018. This was the Star that she knew. And this is the Star that is now being voiced by Sakura. She still talks to him. She still calls on him occasionally. He will cuddle her. He'll love her. He gives her very parental advice. He gives her guidance. But he isn't her main partner anymore. In very many aspects, that is a good thing, because Transformers Prime as a whole was not good for Arya. Transformers Prime is a very weird fandom, because in so many ways there are so many people that do such weird things that it's just like, where did you even get that from? But on the other side of the spectrum, you have gatekeepers who don't allow for any expansion of the fandom. So Arya needed something new, and thus came forward Baldi's Basics. And then in comes First Prize, the hero of this story. He is my child. I mean, in the world, he's my son-in-law, so that makes sense, but like, he is the most loving bubble of joy in the world. He not only helps people for all eternity, but he gives really good advice. He's very strong. He's very gentle. He's very attentive. And he, unlike a lot of the other partners that Arya had, recognizes that Arya needs attention too. This is a very interesting thing. Now, if you're wondering what happened to Zim, because Zim was such a big partner in Arya's life, and you guys didn't really get to see that, but it was there. If you're wondering what happened to Zim, he actually exists in our current universe as well. He does come out and talk occasionally, but most of the time he just kind of stays in the background, and he'll be voiced whenever he's needed, much like a lot of the other characters that Arya and Sakura both individually voice for the world whenever they're doing improvs or, frankly, just talking within the world. So, there you have it. That is what happened to Starscream. That is why he is not the main partner anymore. A lot has changed. Arya never thought she would leave him, but now she has, and it's a really good feeling, not because she didn't like Star, but because now she's had a fresh start, and she can finally start to move forward with a process of healing, and she has come so far since Baldi's Basics. Star is still in her heart. He's always there when she needs him, but I'm thankful that she has a partner with whom she can feel loved and comforted and not feel like she always has to love and comfort. So with all of that said, done surprisingly quickly, honestly, I almost said my motto again. Please remember, everyone, to program yourselves to desire your own image. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Ari. Bye-bye.